Hi everyone, this is the Hackintosh. This is the Lenovo M93P. It's the tower model, and it has two PCIe lanes. This has actually been on the channel before. I've mentioned it because it's an excellent board for virtualization. This currently has an i5 K model, I can't remember which, i5 600K I think, 16 gigs of RAM, it has 2 display ports, a VGA console, USB 4 USB 3 and LAN Intel gigabit. It has audio and then USB 2. So this is the board that I chose to do a Hackintosh, and I'll just turn to the screen now and let you know how that has gone. Apologies for the wires. This is a techie's office, so it's always going to be a bit chaotic at times. And this is the build. I'm really chuffed with it. In a few weeks, I will be upgrading this and putting in an RX 580. I've just ordered it today, and everything's working on it. If I go to about this Mac, this is something that I need to fix, because I've seen that it's just a simple setting in the config.p list that you need to put in, and then it will bring up some more information on it. Currently the SM BIOS is a Mac Mini, an Intel Core i5 16 gig like I said, and the graphics acceleration is working. Let me go to graphics. So it's got 1.5 gig of VRAM, GPU, Intel HD4 6000 graphics, metal supported. So that's absolutely excellent. And then I've just hooked up a time machine just to do a backup, because I do like to keep my Mac backed up, and it's recognized by the settings as well, because that's saying that I've got a software update. Now, some great tools that I think everyone should know about, and that's helped me a lot during my Hackintosh, is this is called OC Auxiliary Tools. I think this is an excellent GUI option for building a config.p list. Just make sure that you update OC Auxiliary Tools to the latest version of OpenCore, because I think it comes shipped with version 8. So just make sure that that's updated. And then some more tools are OpenCore Configurator for mounting the EFI. So the reason I'm having to film the screen is, at the minute my remote desktop software is not working on this Mac, more than likely because it can't quite verify what the model is. So let me So I'm just taking you through the setup and how it's set up for me. Some of the texts that I've used. I do want to make a full extensive video on how I've done this, but I feel that I'm going to do it once the graphics card has arrived, because I think it'll be a bit more of a challenge. I've often found that the integrated graphics are much easier than a graphics card. So that's, this is an excellent tool for building the config.p list, and also OC Auxiliary Tools can do it as well. So either of them two is great. I just think this has got some great features in it. It's got obviously the OC checker and everything. It's got templates as well. So yeah, I just wanted to take you through this build and show you what it's like. So if you have this board, if you follow this channel and you went and bought this board, I will be releasing the EFI, mainly because yes, I've spent a long time to get this working really nice, you know, with the graphics acceleration, but that's part of open source, that's part of sharing with the community, you know. Charging people for using open source material, I think, is wrong. So, you know, people have helped me with this because, for example, the kexts, well, all the kexts are open source, they're on GitHub. So I wouldn't have been able to build this without the kexts. So I just feel that, look, you're taking from the open source, give back to the open source in any way that you can. So yeah, that's something that I'll be doing. So if you've got this board, you can basically just change your SM BIOS, change the SM BIOS, and you're good to go. The next upgrade that I'll be doing to it is with the graphics card. So I've ordered the RX 580 and I'll be doing that upgrade. So this is the Hackintosh build. Now there's still some little niggles that need to be worked out and a few things that still need to be modified, but I'll just take you through the process of how I set this up. So I installed a program called wrong keyboard, Etcher. So let's download that. Download that for macOS. Now there's a couple of ways you can do this. You can do it the way that I'm doing it, or you can do what's called a vanilla install. That's where you download macOS from the App Store. So technically you can download, let's say, macOS Monterey like this. And then it will open up in the App Store. Now this is if you're on a Mac, you can do it like this, and then you click Get and download. But the way that I'm going to show you will work on both Windows and Mac, so that's why I'm showing you this way. You can download this. Now the other thing you'll need is a torrent client, which is Qubit torrent I use, because you need to download an image from Orilla. That's Windows 7. No, I don't want that. Mac OS. And then you'll need so yeah, so it's so here it is. So here is the links. It's Monterey and it has the EFI folder for chipset 600 700. Now we're going to remove the EFI folder and put in our own EFI folder, but you want to download the image from here. Now I'm using something called Brave browser. Highly recommend this browser, it's amazing. If you're using Chrome, you'll have to do some extra steps, because when I go to this link here, what Brave browser does is puts me straight over and I can just save the .torrent file like that. But if you're in Chrome, you'll have to go through some extra verification steps. So once you have this downloaded, this is the actual sort of torrent link, the raw torrent link. I think Qubit torrent is downloaded. You'll install Qubit torrent on Mac. You'll install Qubit Torrent on Mac or Windows and open Qubit Torrent with the link in. So Q. As you can see, I'm using the Hackintosh and it's powering through all of this. No issue. And then you go File, Add Torrent File. And it's there. And put it downloads. Now I've already downloaded this, so I'm going to cancel it, but let this download. You can do some other stuff to Qubit Torrent to make this go a little bit faster, but you know, it will take a few hours, maybe a bit longer. So I'm going to go remove, but you will let this download. Now once you have the raw file, it's a simple case of opening Balena Etcher once this is downloaded, and flashing the raw image to Balena Etcher. And then you will have something. What I'm going to do is get the USB, my install USB, and I'll show you that. So when the USB is flashed, it will look something like this. It will have the install macOS Monterey and some of the files that Orilla has put onto the USB. But this is where we need the tool. There's two tools that can do this. OC auxiliary tools, or the other one is Open Core Configurator. And then you go Tools, Mount EFI, and EFI install macOS Monterey, mount partition. And then the EFI partition will be here. So in here will be an EFI. You want to delete it completely, move to bin, and then it should be blank, ready for the EFI that if you have this same motherboard, you can download my EFI and just simply copy it onto the USB, boot it up and it will work. So if you have the same motherboard, you're good to go. It already has all of the texts and driver extensions and everything that you're going to need. But if you do have a slightly different motherboard, I'm going to show you some processes or some tools that I've used to build an EFI. One of the good ones, and I know there's some debate about this in the Hackintosh community, but I still think it's a good tool, which is OC auxiliary tools. Now, the reason I like it is because when you kind of remove kex and file extensions in the USB, it will automatically delete them from the config.p list. The config.p list is basically the main reason why macOS will boot. So if I go to File, Open, and I might as well just show you. In fact, I'd maybe just show you a template. So I think this is templates, configure template, and on this is a full database of config templates basically. So let's think of another system that we want to build this USB on. Let's do plist. Yeah, let's do a Coffee Lake actually, because that's quite a well used CPU now, the 8th and 9th gen. So once we've downloaded that file, you can open it in OC auxiliary tools. Now, one thing that I will say is when you download OC auxiliary tools or OCAT, it comes with version 8. Now, the version that you want is the latest version of OpenCore. So to update it, you'll need to go to File, OC Preferences. You go to Edit. You go to Edit and then Upgrade OpenCore and Kexts. And this will upgrade your version of OCAT, so it will download all of the Kexts. But for now, what we're going to do is go to Edit and then go Generate EFI on desktop, like that. So it's generated that. So if we go to the desktop, we have it there. And then in here we have boot, which is boot 64, which is what's needed. Config.plist, OpenCore EFI, ACPI, SSDTs, drivers. So everything that was in that config.plist will be downloaded into this basically, which is what's needed for the Coffee Lake generation. So let's go back and check OCAT. And as we can see, these have all turned green. So, which is enabled. Now, there is a little button up here with the tick. If we click this, it will bring up OpenCore Validator, and this will compare your OpenCore to make sure that it will boot. It doesn't sometimes catch everything, but it's a good chance that it will catch 90% of the errors. Now, if you've downloaded my folder from GitHub or Google Drive, I'm not too sure which one I'm going to put it on yet, probably GitHub, you'll need to change this. So all you'll do is open up the config.plist in OCAT and then click generate. And this will generate a new SMBIOS and a new system UUID. And then you also need to generate a ROM, which it's very simple. Generate, and then you can check this if I copy. And please make sure you do check it, because a couple of times I've not checked it, tried to install, and I've got so many errors. It's unbelievable. So you definitely need to make sure that you're checking the device serial. And then we'll just paste, put in the capture. Yep, that's fine. We can use that. Even though it says please enter a valid serial number, what that means is it's not been used before. So we can sort of copy this and use it. So we know that's fine. And then when we go save, it will inject all of that into our config.plist. And if say you have a different motherboard that needs different drivers, so if I go to kernel, it's got the main stuff that we need, which is what Evergreens, Lilu, Virtual SMC, Super IO. This is the kind of basic texts. But what we don't have in here is our Ethernet driver. So you're either going to have an Intel Ethernet chip or you're going to have a Realtek. They're the two kind of main ones. So let me just type in Realtek Kext. It's already coming up there with it. So double check what LAN cards you have, and then from there you can download the Kext. And this is what I was saying before about it injecting it. So I'll download that. And then you want to go to release and then copy this. Go to desktop, EFI, and into texts. And then paste item like that. Now, whenever you do a save on your config.p list, what it does is it creates just a new version of it. So you can see it has old config.p list. I would recommend deleting this if you're happy with the changes, or copy it and move it to a safe place, and then you can always back it up. You know, you just don't really want errors in the boot, but it wouldn't, because it's not looking for that file, but I will just delete it anyway. So let's go to OCAT, and as you can see, it's injected that text into the config.p for us, instead of having to inject it manually. Now let's go to display. So for the display, it's running off our built-in graphics, which is the UHD 630, and it has all the frame buffer patches as well. Now, some of this stuff may vary between models, so this is where the research of that model comes in. You just need to make sure that you've got the main stuff covered in this. Any quirks and things, just research your motherboard. You know, you might have some strange things like, and you know, if you're using an NVMe, you will need an NVMe kext, like NVMe fix kext. Or if you're using a certain type of sound card, you'll need a kext for that sound card. So, you know, usually you can search the motherboard. So I'll search, let me just find a motherboard. I'll pick one off Amazon and just see if I can show you what I mean. So we'll do an Intel board. As well, Ryzen. So this motherboard has a LGA 1700 socket. Now, Apple don't, as far as I know, have any models with the LGA 1700 sockets. So what you'll have to do is spoof your ID to basically make the Mac think it's something different other than an LGA 1700. It has it has PCIe slots. It has M.2 slots, so you will need the NVMe fix if it's an NVMe. Probably is an NVMe. Wi-Fi 6, so and that's onboard Wi-Fi 6, so you'll need a kext for the Wi-Fi card. It doesn't tell us what make that card is. DDR4, Bluetooth as well. So yeah, this is where your own research comes into finding out exactly what your board is and what kexts and quirks it needs for that motherboard to work. Usually as well, you can do stuff like search for people who pre-made EFIs, like what I've done. Now you will need to modify these EFIs, but it definitely gives you a good place to start. So if I go to search Google and then do Hackintosh EFI, like that, and someone's got something here, so let's have a look here. This might be, it's a different board,
But that's the type of thing that you're looking for. You know, sometimes your motherboard, someone's already built a working EFI for it, and it's simply a case of looking at the kexts it needs and the things it needs in it. So we go to the OC directory, kexts, so Bluetooth tool fix-up kext, CPU friend to spoof the ID, CPU friend data provider, Intel Bluetooth patcher kext, you know, NVMe fix, and then restrict events, USB port, USB port map, virtual SMC. So, you know, you'll definitely need things like these. What OCAT does is give you the basics, but to get the Hackintosh fully working, you will need some of these kexts, and that's where searching your motherboard, you know, and people that have already pre-built them definitely helps. So let's just say that we are done with OCAT and done with everything. We have our kexts, they've been injected into the config.p list. We've done our displays, we're running off onboard graphics for now. If you're using a graphics card, that will be in another tutorial. I'll definitely look at that when my RX 580 comes. I'll be doing a tutorial on just that itself. So, and we've already ran the validator to make sure that everything's okay. If there is errors, search them errors, find out a bit more about them. So yeah, let's now go back to the USB. Now for you this won't be there. It's a simple case of copying the EFI from your desktop. So you go copy, and then into there go paste, and then unmount the EFI from OpenCore configurator. Now the reason I'm not going to delete this in mine is because this USB is actually for this system, so I need it for a backup for now until I've fully finished and it's all set up. I usually keep my backups for, you know, just in case I need to reboot the system and go back into it. So let's unmount the USB, and then we'll see if we can do an install process.